failed investigations, 6 execution-style murders, and a killer on the loose. Today's video is about a 5'7" redhead male who killed 6 store clerks near Interstate 70 and successfully fled the crime scene every time. Each of his killings followed a pattern, explicitly targeting young, brunette women working in stores. However, one of his 6 victims was a man. According to the authorities' reports, he had been confused for a woman as the store was named after a female. It all started in the spring of 1992. The residents of the Midwest had no idea of the tragedies that awaited them in the next few days. The first one occurred at a Payless shoe store in Indianapolis, when a 26-year-old Robin Fuldauer was fatally shot by an intruder while she was working alone. Little did the people of the Midwest know that this wasn't just a robbery gone wrong, but the beginning of a killing spree where more tragedy would unfold, and the authorities wouldn't be able to do anything about it for a long time. The killer always followed the same strategy. He'd enter a random store near the I-70, wait for it to be empty, and then shoot the victims dead with his Irma Werke model ET-22 pistol. But what was the chilling motive behind the I-70 killer's deadly actions? Was it related to his victims in any way, or was it just a blind thirst for blood? Stick around as we dive in to find our answers. As Indianapolis was coming out of mourning the loss of one young woman, another tragedy struck on April 11th. This time, the killer targeted La Bride d'Elegance bridal shop in Wichita, Kansas. His victims were Patricia Smith and the store owner, Patricia Maggers. What's even more chilling is that the killer believed there was only one woman in the shop. The 2 Patricias had gone beyond their usual closing time to assist a male customer. Little did they know, the actual customer was still on his way when they let the killer in, mistaking him for the one they were waiting for. It wasn't until the women were brutally murdered that the actual customer arrived. What awaited for him was a situation that would haunt him for life. He encountered the I-70 killer. The killer, armed with an Uzi-style gun, ordered the customer to go to the back of the store. Fortunately, his refusal saved his life, as the killer allowed him to leave. But the fear was so paralyzing that it took over an hour for him to report the incident. Eventually, he provided critical details for a composite sketch of the killer, describing him as a slender, white man with reddish hair. Now the authorities had a vague image to identify the man. But was it enough to catch him? Let's find out. The I-70 killer's next victim, Michael McCown, had terrible luck considering he wasn't supposed to be the target. On April 27th, tragedy struck at Sylvia's ceramics store in Terre Haute, Indiana. Around 4 p.m., Michael McCown, aged 40, lost his life in another tragic shooting incident. This time, the killer not only took his life, but also stole his wallet. Adding to the mystery, McCown was the only male victim of the I-70 killer spree. Investigators believe the store was targeted because of its name, Sylvia Ceramics, which may have given the impression that it was run by a woman, making it a tempting target. It's possible that the killer mistook McCown for a woman as he was shot from behind while kneeling to stock shelves. Following the murder of McCown came the vague death of Ms. Nancy Kitzmiller. On May 3rd, another shop was targeted. Its name was Boot Village, a footwear store in St. Charles, Missouri. A single staff member, 24-year-old Nancy Kitzmiller, was alone, having opened it at noon. But she would never get a chance to close it because customers would discover her lifeless body at 2:30 p.m. with a gunshot wound to the back of the head. Sadly, Nancy wasn't even scheduled to work that day. She had graciously agreed to cover for a coworker so they could have the day off. And just like the previous attacks by the I-70 killer, money was stolen from the cash register this time too. Although no one heard the gunshot, a witness has seen Nancy with her final customer just moments before her life was taken. This crucial sighting aided the police in creating a composite drawing to unravel this cold-blooded murderer. The last confirmed murder took place on May 7th in Raytown, Missouri. The victim was a 37-year-old Sarah Blessing working in her gift shop. It went by the name Store of Many Colors. The owner of a video store next to Blessing's shop witnessed the killer entering the store, heard a sudden noise, and then saw the assailant leaving. Alarmed, he went to check and tragically found Blessing's lifeless body inside the shop. This time, the incident didn't go unnoticed by the authorities in the community. A clerk at a nearby grocery store had spotted the suspect as seen climbing a hill toward I-70. This final chapter in the series of murders adds another layer of mystery to the I-70 killer's sinister spree. Here came the end of the murder spree through the American highways. Even after these 6 gruesome killings and 1 witness, the police weren't able to locate the I-70 killer. The spring of 1992 was undoubtedly a tragedy for the people of the Midwest. Was the I-70 killer so brilliant that the police couldn't trace him? Or were these murders planned to shift the public's attention from something significant that had been going on? We may never find out because, to this day, the mystery of the Midwest murders remains unsolved. The pieces of this chilling puzzle started to come together when a detective in St. Charles suspected a sinister connection. All the murders were committed using a .22 caliber firearm, and the victims shared some common traits. They were often petite, young women with long, dark hair. Apart from the Wichita cases, the victims were typically alone in their small specialty businesses. The common thread was that they were shot in the back of the head. Oddly, these crimes didn't involve sexual assault, and despite the robberies, it seemed like money was a secondary motive, as these shops didn't hold much cash. These incidents occurred during quiet times, when the stores were deserted, like after lunch or closing. Also, many of them were in strip malls near I-70. Based on witness accounts, law enforcement believes the murder weapon might have been an Intratec, Scorpion, or an Irma Work ET-22 pistol, but they can't completely rule out the other .22 caliber firearm models. The ammunition used in the killings was .22 caliber CCI copper-clad lead bullets. What's intriguing is that the cartridge casings contain traces of jeweler's rouge. The story took an even more confusing turn when the Midwest authorities linked the killer to shootings in Texas in 1994. However, Texas authorities weren't entirely convinced due to the different firearms used in each spree. As for the killer's description in 1992, he was thought to be a white man in his 20s or 30s, standing 5'7" to 5'9" tall, with a slender build, lazy eyelids, and sandy blonde or reddish hair. In 2021, the St. Charles Police Department released age-progressed versions of the original composite sketch to give us a glimpse of what the killer might look like today. They believe he could be between 52 and 70 years old if alive. Despite all the efforts, police haven't publicly named any suspects, and this case remains hauntingly cold. Investigators suspect that the I-70 killer might have been involved in 2 murders in 1993 and an attempted murder in 1994, all of which took place in Texas. The first victim, Mary Ann Glasscock, aged 51, was tragically killed on September 25, 1993, at the Emporium Antique Store in Fort Worth. The second victim, 22-year-old Amy Vess, lost her life when she was shot in a dance apparel store in Arlington on November 1st. There was one survivor, Vicky Webb, aged 35, who was shot on January 15, 1994, in Houston at the Alternatives gift shop. She had a brief interaction with the shooter before being shot in the back of the head. Fortunately, the bullet didn't fully penetrate due to a large vertebra getting hit. The shooter attempted a second shot, but the gun misfired, and he fled assuming Webb was dead. The Texas killer methods bore a striking resemblance to the I-70 killer, as both used a .22 caliber firearm. However, a ballistics test revealed that the gun used in the Texas cases was different from the one in the I-70 killings. Therefore, investigators couldn't definitely confirm whether the I-70 killer was responsible for the Texas shootings. Following the Texas murders came the Terre Haute murder. In November 2021, the Terre Haute police made a significant announcement linking the I-70 killer as a possible suspect in the 2001 murder of 31-year-old liquor store clerk Billy Brossman. On the evening of November 30, 2001, Brossman was alone at work in the 7th and 70th liquor store in Terre Haute. Surveillance camera footage captured a white male suspect entering the store, brandishing a firearm, robbing the cash register, and then leading Brossman to the back of the store. Tragically, he was shot dead with a single shot to the back of the head. What makes this case particularly intriguing is that it happened only 7 blocks away from the murder of Michael McCown and shared a similar method to the I-70 killings. However, unlike the I-70 murders, there is security footage of Brossman's killer, and the police have disclosed having a person of interest in the case. Even though the case has garnered attention on popular shows like Unsolved Mysteries, America's Most Wanted, Dark Minds, and People magazine investigates, the killer's identity remains a mystery. Authorities have yet to reveal any suspects to the public. In the shadow of the I-70, these mysteries continue to haunt us, leaving questions unanswered and justice untouched. Remember everyone, stay safe out there.